As a young kid, I remember growing up hearing people talk about Azadi, the slogans of Azadi. So they're like so Azadi is our like, it's our wedding songs, it's our lullabies, and this is our political poetry. It has been a part of everything that we have done, you know. Hi, my name is Samia. I'm a Kashmiri student. I have lived 19 years of my life in Kashmir, and post that, I moved out for studies. My parents still live in Kashmir, like my home is still back there. In Kashmir, I live in district Baramulla in a small town called Sopur. I was in Delhi. I was at my flat. So I had lost contact with my parents, and I didn't go to work because I was quite worried about my parents. I couldn't believe it for a moment. So yeah, it was very hard. I kept on my phone, and I couldn't help crying. That day was really horrible, and for the next 2, 3, 4 hours, I was still waiting for someone to tell me that, this is a hoax, or it's not true, or Amit Shah has been held for it, or like the people aren't accepting this decision. But I mean, I was still waiting to see if they have already scrapped the law or are they planning to do it. It was so shocking. Communications were completely shut down in Valley. This includes telephone calls, SMS, internet, and postal services as well. So there's literally no other way to receive or send information to Kashmir. So it was very difficult. I didn't hear from my parents for first 1 week, and there were rumors going on. So we were quite disturbed. I mean, this is 21st century, and India claims to be world's largest democracy, and internet shutdown is uncalled for. I completely condemn it, and I know it comes from a place where India knows that its decision is undemocratic, and the people of Kashmir would not support it. So they have to do it to ensure that no voice is coming out of the valley. I spoke to my parents after 7 days. So my parents, who are old, basically had to walk all their way to the police station, stand in a queue where a lot of other parents were also in the queue waiting to speak to their children. And every person was allowed to speak only for mm, like 1 minute. So if you have to make two calls, then you have to like divide it 30 seconds, 30 seconds, like that. So it's very horrible. And even when they're speaking, the police person is right next to them, so they cannot say what is happening. If there is if there's a curfew, if there have been protests. So in like after 7 days, I spoke to my mom for 30 seconds, and we had so much to talk about. But of course, we couldn't talk. So that is the one call that I had from them. It was on the eve of Eid, and there's so much to say that we forgot to say Eid Mubarak to each other. Not that there was something to celebrate on Eid. Post that, I received a letter from my mother. Somehow she found someone who was, you know, leaving my hometown and coming to Delhi. So my mom sent a letter. It was quite shocking for me to receive the letter. Uh, and frankly, I'm horrified at what they're going through. They have no information about the world. They've been caged inside their homes, and I mean, whatever they're hearing, it's on the TV, and Indian media has been covering literally nothing about Kashmir. And anyone who has been covering, uh, they've been called and marked anti-national and pro-Pakistani. They've been called that this is some propaganda. Politics is very personal to me as a Kashmiri and to all of us. And a lot of it, and the cognizance, the understanding of how brutal India has been to Kashmir, um, first came to me when I was when I was very young. There were regular crackdowns. There were times when people were called out of their homes. They were beaten up. Our house was ransacked. So many times there have been crackdowns where, you know, army suspects that there is a militant hiding in different colonies most of the time, which is absolutely wrong. And they would come inside the house, they would steal the gold and the money and whatever they could get. My early and very young memories, like my first memory, I would say, is about a crackdown. So growing up there, has been very difficult, and it's only when you leave Kashmir and speak to other people that you realize this isn't a normal way of life. People in India don't live like that. People in different countries don't live like that. It's only Kashmir that is suffering from it. So there has been normalized there. India has like a horrific history with how they have tortured people in Kashmir, how they have suppressed our peaceful freedom movements, and whatever has happened in Kashmir right now, if people have picked up guns, it has a lot to do with what India has done in Kashmir. And to what extent has India tortured Kashmir, that people have seen picking up guns as the only option. Politically, by the government of Pakistan, I see a lot of statements coming, but I don't know what they have done so far with respect to what has happened recently. Kashmiris are disappointed, but we understand that one way the current situation could be solved is if Pakistan takes the case of Kashmir to International Court of Justice. With respect to the people of Pakistan, I've seen that they have showed solidarity. We have had a number of protests happening across the world in different cities in different countries, and we are glad that they are there for us, that they're joining the protests, they are speaking with us, standing with us. But there has been huge criticism of how Pakistanis have tried to speak over Kashmiris. In London, while Kashmiris were peacefully protesting, there were a lot of Pakistanis who joined, who had their own slogans. Many of its slogans were pro-Pakistani. They got their own flags, and absolutely this was absolutely not welcomed, because we have to understand that Kashmir's struggle for freedom, it's very indigenous to Kashmir's problem. And when Pakistani protesters, I mean, it's we're very glad that they're there with us, but when they bring their own agendas, their own flags and their own slogans, it becomes quite it digresses from the point of the protest. And often this turns into something that Kashmiris would not like to turn it into. Kashmir is a very complicated dispute, owing to the number of stakeholders that are involved, also owing to how the demographic has changed with time. But what I wish is that the decision of Kashmir should be left to Kashmiris, be the people of Jammu, people of Ladakh, people of the valley, people who have been displaced, people who are Kashmiri migrants. The decision of Kashmir should be with Kashmiris, should be taken by Kashmiris, because I think that is what democracy should be. I mean, if the rest of the India takes a decision for Kashmir, it doesn't mean that it's democratic when you're excluding the stakeholders who will be affected the most by these decisions. The stakeholders who will be affected the most by these decisions.